Welcome back to the channel. I'm your host, Anthony Wade. It is July 26th. For today's episode, we are going back to Jenny Weaverville. We've done a couple of videos recently. I kept saying that I wanted to go back and cover a Facebook Live post that she did that was pretty much absurd about, she was upset that too many people were calling too many other people witches. Apparently only Jenny can call people witches. But I thought it was interesting. It was long though. And then every time I go back to her page, she's got something else. And I end up covering that. There is now another Facebook Live post that she did. It's kind of like a begathon for, I guess, a hub core revival center, I think in Louisiana. That is really, indicative of the the way that these ministries cajole money out of people. But in the course of researching that, I came across a post from Jenny that I missed in June, so about a month ago, that I want to cover because I think it's important. I'm surprised she didn't do a video on this. So this post is from June 16th. It says, "What is a cult? What are the characteristics of a cult?" And then I'm not going to read the entire thing because what she actually posted was the most extreme definitions of a cult. And she's doing this because apparently she was upset that people rightly call the core a cult, because it is. Now, it is not a cult in the terms of like Jonestown, or the Branch Davidians. But there were periods of time, even within Jonestown and the Branch Davidians, where it appeared more normal. Things didn't, things progress in a cult oftentimes, and sometimes they may not. So the things that she lists 8 things: violence and criminal activity, mass suicide or sacrifice, radical ideologies, totalitarian control, indoctrination and brainwashing, isolation in extreme environments, recruitment of vulnerable individuals, charismatic manipulative leaders. She lists these, and I'm not sure where she got it from. Somewhere online, I'm sure. But she lists these to kind of throw off the scent, right? Because there's no violence or criminal activity or mass suicide and sacrifice going on in the core, but I don't think anybody's made that allegation, thankfully. And then she lists notable examples of cults: Heaven's Gate, Jonestown, and the Branch Davidians, like I said, the Manson family. And certainly nobody that I know of is suggesting that Jenny Weaver and the core is a cult in the model of the Manson family. Okay, so what she's trying to do is she's trying to throw as much smoke around to make it seem like anybody who dares to correctly call the core a cult is like summarily dismissed out of hand because, hey, there's no mass suicide going on. So she concludes her little post by saying, "I'm tired of people throwing this word around loosely to any church or community group people feel connected to. Get a dictionary and do your research before falsely labeling something or someone." Well, okay, Jenny, I took you up on the challenge and I did my research like you suggested. And we're going to go over the actual characteristics of a cult and how they all seem to relate to what you have going on. But let me finish her post. In regards, because she gives away the game at the end why she's doing this. In regard to my mentorship, hey, it's not a mentorship, Jenny. That's just the narrative you've created to get the people to give you the money. But you don't actually mentor them. You just produce content that they absorb and you charge them money for it. Okay? Yes, you do one Facebook Live, I believe, per week on a Tuesday, if I'm not mistaken, for an hour. That's it. It's not mentorship. So in regards to my mentorship, let me remind you that people click a button to join and click a button to unjoin. It's that simple. It's that simple. She doesn't understand punctuation. Stop trying to create a false narrative. No one, I don't believe, has said anything otherwise, but the button that they click to join, Jenny, leads them to a credit card entry page so they can give you their credit card information and you can set up a recurring monthly charge of $20, which is not a lot of money. And I've said this all along, until you multiply it by I don't know, you had 13,000 people in the core a couple of years ago, and now I'm hearing that number is in excess of 20,000. So somewhere between 3.1 million and $6.1 million per year, you're fleecing from these people under the guise of mentorship. You're mentoring 20,000 people at the same time. It's a great grift. I've said it all along, but it's still a grift. And it doesn't matter if you sit there and want to refer to it as your mentorship. And yes, I am sure they can click a button if they want to unjoin, because legally you have to allow them to get out if they want. I don't know how simple it is. I'll take your word that it's simple. But most people, because you set up a brilliant grift, are not going to sit there, even let's say if they need to revisit their budget, right? The $20 recurring charge is probably not the first thing that's going to go. Again, it's brilliant. She goes on, I'm calling names and marking people next time. Well, in case you're confused, my name's Anthony Wade. So you can go ahead and mark me, because I'm telling everybody to mark you. And I've been telling them that since you came on the scene. People, the next time, as those who sow discord among the brethren, you're not my brethren, Jenny. Okay? You preach heresy. That's why you're not my brethren. So the sin God hates that you say here is sowing discord among the brethren. And according to Romans, what brings discord into the body of Christ is false teaching. She concludes, don't be mad because God is expanding the ministry you are mad at. Yeah, I'm not mad at you, Jenny. I feel bad for the people who've been suckered by you and are sitting in this cult and don't realize it. And by the way, that is not God expanding your ministry. Selling carnality, don't be surprised if people are willing to buy it. The gospel divides, doesn't multiply. There's a reason why Joel Osteen draws hundreds of thousands of people each week to watch him, and it's not because he's preaching the gospel. So, since Jenny thought it was a good idea to examine and do research before commenting, I went and asked our friendly neighborhood AI to put together a detailed breakdown of what a cult is. So, number one, charismatic leadership. Cults typically revolve around a dominant, charismatic leader who exerts significant influence over the members. That kind of sounds like you, Jenny, right? I mean, I know that you play off your husband as an apostle too, and you give him like the little core men's thing, so it seems like you're like, obedient or subservient or what have you. But the reality is the core is yours, right? From what I understand, the 20,000 people in the core are all women. I believe it's a women's group that you allow men to, access. But point two from bullet number one, the leader's teachings are presented as the ultimate truth. Questioning them is discouraged or punished. I've watched you, Jenny, many times say your doctrine, it cannot be even questioned. That's what you say when you teach. Members may develop an excessive or even worshipful devotion to the leader. Have you seen the comments from the people who follow you, Jenny? Because whether you intended to or not, it is excessive and even worshipful. First of all, your insistence that people call you apostle, even though I can't find any record online of who exactly made you an apostle. I'm sure it wasn't Jesus because you weren't around back then. So maybe it was Ryan Lestrange. And now you get to walk around and pretend that you're a cosplay as an apostle, and your husband for some reason. One of the things that I see your members constantly refer to as is Mama Jenny. If you don't think that your folks are excessive and worshipful about you, then just watch when somebody criticizes you. Watch what happens when they come into the thread and the ferocity with which they defend. Because it's on the level of Joseph Prince adherents. Years ago when I used to cover Prince a lot, there was no talking to anybody who followed him. And by the way, and the same thing is true of your followers, Jenny. I mean, I have an example from a local church. There were two people in a youth ministry involved in a local church, pastor I know and a youth pastor I know well, and they fell into your trap and they joined the core, and then they proceeded to try to infect the church and the local church. They tried to recruit everybody to join the core. They were asked to stand down, meaning stop doing it, and they refused, defended you to the hilt, and ended up having to be dismissed from the body of Christ, from church, from their local church, because of you, because you were more important to them than their local pastor trying to properly have oversight over them. And I know their story is not the only story. That's just the one that's local to me. I've seen testimony of people online who say the same thing, who've gotten away from you. That was just point number one. Point number two, authoritarian control. Cults enforce strict rules and regulations that govern various aspects of members' lives, from daily routines to relationships. Strong emphasis on obedience and conformity, and dissent is often met with disapproval or even punishment. Yeah, I mean, listen, when people go against you that were with you, they are excommunicated, aren't they? They're considered to have been, possessed by demons, right? It says here, leaders often dictate how members should think, act, feel, fostering dependency and limiting autonomy. That's your ministry, Jen. That's what you do. Is they all sit there and rave, but the bottom line is everything is geared toward worshiping the cult leader, of staying in the cult. Point number three, isolation and manipulation. Cults often isolate family members, friends, and from the outside world. Members from their families, their friends, and the outside world. The isolation is a key strategy for maintaining control and preventing members from receiving alternate perspectives. Cults may use psychological manipulation techniques like thought stopping, chanting, and meditation to suppress doubt and critical thinking. I don't know about any of the meditation stuff, but clearly the core sells community, and the only thing that matters is the community. Sure, you do outreach to try to lure more people into the core, but the bottom line is the strategy is about maintaining control of the core, one way or the other. Everything is framed as the core, right? You want to create something for the children of your followers, you created Core Kids. You wanted to create a school of the stupid natural, it was the Core School, right? If you want everything is now, a lot of that's just branding, don't get me wrong, but it's designed to create community, and the community is the main focus. Things outside the community, you try to draw them in, but you do not leave the community for your former life. Five, exploitation. Some cults exploit their members financially, emotionally, or even sexually. So I'm not going to go anywhere near the sexually part, but obviously you're exploiting them emotionally. Have you ever watched one of your own services? The riling them up in the emotional fervor that's being sold off as being spiritual, bringing thrones onto the stage to bow down to it, rolling out red carpets, pretending Jesus is walking in. It's all emotional manipulation and financial. Like I said, I was going to cover this this begathon for this other couple that apparently opened up a core revival hub, I believe in Louisiana, and must have got hit by some kind of natural disaster because they need to do rebuilding. And apparently the money wasn't coming in fast enough. So Jenny does this 56-minute begathon where she is literally, manipulating is the kindest way to put it, kind of berating people, saying that, she believes that certain amount of people were going to sow $5,000 and had to commit to it right there. She wanted to see it in the comments. People were starting to say, I'll commit 1,000. I'll commit 1,000. She's praising them and saying God's going to bless them 10 times over. All strictly financial manipulation. Members may seem pressured to donate large sums of money. Yeah, I mean, watch. I think I'm going to cover that video because it's throughout there. It's, I believe X amount of people are going to donate 1,000. I believe X amount of people are going to donate 5,000, and it's all sold to them like you have a ministry in your belly that you want to birth, but you don't want to sow into anybody else. Guilt, manipulation. So in other words, if you think that we're going to help you when you need to raise money for the church or ministry you want to birth, but you didn't give us any money for this one, well, God doesn't bless that. Donate large sums of money, working long hours for little or no pay, engage in activities that benefit the leader or the group. So the benefit of this is for the group. Again, this is not an outside church that she's begging for. It's a core revival hub. So it's under the covering or auspices of Jenny's ministry. And by the way, if you don't think that because Jenny will probably defend it by saying, I'm not taking any money from it, but you are. Because the more people that you get lured into the core, regardless of where the core is, if it's a hub in Louisiana or a hub in England, the core is the brand. And eventually they have to click that button. And when they click that button, it takes them to the credit card page. That's the whole point. Members, this exploitation deepens members' dependence on the cult and makes it difficult for them to leave. I think it's interesting within religious cults too that what makes it difficult to leave also is you have to come to the realization that you were fooled, that you were duped, that you were suckered, that you were snookered. You know what I'm saying? And that's a really debilitating thing to one's ego, to have to admit that they were led to believe something that was false and they fell for it. People have come out though. I had somebody on my post, one of my videos, say that they had gone down to the core and realized how weird it was, and they thankfully got out. The lovesick scribe, I can't remember her name, Dawn. I believe she was Jenny's armor bearer briefly. She's out now and doing great evangelistic work in terms of discernment. Number 6, us versus them. Cults foster a polarized view of the world, dividing into us, the cult members, and them, everyone else. The mentality can lead to conflict with outsiders and reinforce members' loyalty to the group. And like I said, with the example of the local situation, it was they joined the core. They wanted everybody else to join the core. They had a legitimate desire to see people come join with them. But if they didn't, then they were the enemy. They weren't Spirit-led. They were the Pharisees. 7, lack of accountability. Cult leaders are often not accountable to any external authority or oversight body. They may operate in secrecy, shielded from scrutiny and criticism. This lack of accountability allows them to abuse their power and control without fear of consequence. A little different within religious cults in the modern apostate church, like Jenny's church. What they've done is they've set up false accountability paradigms. And this is really based upon C. Peter Wagner's work when he developed the New Apostolic Reformation. And to set up a false authority structure. So Jenny will sit there, if anybody ever accused her directly of a lack of accountability, she'd be like, what are you talking about? I'm accountable to Ryan Lestrange. But Ryan Lestrange is just as false, if not falser, than Jenny Weaver. So there's no accountability. That'd be like a criminal saying, I'm accountable to this other criminal. You're both criminals. It doesn't matter. Jennifer LeClaire's covering was James Gall. Does it matter? No. There's no accountability. And by the way, anybody who dares again to criticize gets a Facebook post with false talking points about what a cult is so Jenny can complain about it. Just like in the video, hopefully we'll eventually get to cover, where she's apparently upset that everybody's using the term witch, and I guess only she's allowed to use the term witch. Listen, those are the points on cults. and maybe this, maybe this is deserves a much larger, deeper dive, because any cultish behavior is not good and often doesn't end well, as Jenny laid out with some of the more extreme examples. The NAR Dominion Apostate Church is a cult. It is an idolatrous cult. And the idol is politics. Jenny Weaver's not. Jenny Weaver is a cult unto herself. I don't think it's going to end, the way that like the Manson family or anything like that, because they were crazy, right? Charles Manson was certifiably crazy. David Koresh was crazy. Jim Jones was crazy. Jenny Weaver's not crazy. Jenny Weaver's a grifter. She has a scam going on that's generating her millions upon millions of dollars. And in one of these videos that I've been watching for the last few days, she scoffs at the notion. Yeah, what are they prophesying? She says, I wish I had that much money. Okay, then explain to me how 3 years ago you had 13,000 people in a core paying $20 a pop. Take out a calculator, Jenny. Do the math. That math comes out to $3.1 million per year. Clear. Now, supposedly, that number's doubled. So that would be 6.1 million. But even if it's 20,000, and let's say you give 5,000 freebies, you let people slide. 15,000 people are still going to net you like $3.3 million per year. That's before you sell them any of your t-shirts. It's before you sell them any of your supplements. Before you sell them any of your Women of God bathrobes. It's before you sell them any of the schools, the tracks within your school, the Stupid Natural. Before you sell them on any of the conferences or anything else. Now, Jenny will rush to defend herself, as she often does, and says, but I do all of this. I feed the homeless. I help people with drug addiction. I have a farm, I think, where she raises crops and then gives them away. And my answer to that is she absolutely does. Jenny Weaver puts in the work that's necessary to perpetuate a grift of this scale. There is no question. But it's all, the end result is still one way or the other, just casting the net to draw people into the core. That's all it's designed to do. Because if you were struggling with addiction, and Jenny gave you a 6-week, reset on your life, and God will do anything and help anybody. Let's say it worked. You'd probably be willing to pay $20 a month to stay with somebody who did that for you. If a ministry is constantly feeding you, or is willing to help you try to find work or whatever, this is how you draw people in. And by the way, the reason why I can say that I know that she does all this is because she advertises it. Her Facebook page is 70% grifting, selling you things, and 30% self-promotion of all the great work she does. As opposed to what the Bible says, which is don't let your left hand know what your right hand's doing. But there's no question that Jenny Weaver is a huge cult of personality, which, by the way, is the design of Rick Warren's Purpose-Driven Church. So she's not the only one. But she kind of clicks all the boxes. She's got charismatic leadership. She doesn't allow questioning of her doctrine. She does exercise some level of authoritarian control, even though it's certainly not kind of in your face, right? But there's certainly isolation and manipulation, unusual beliefs and practices. I'm sorry, I skipped this one. 4, unusual beliefs and practices. Cults often promote unique and extreme beliefs that deviate from mainstream religious and philosophical norms. That's pretty much Jenny's entire ministry. She likes to pretend it's all biblical, but it's really not. And it's this kind of esoteric, hyper spirituality. She has a lot of props and That, makes people bow down to like empty thrones. Like, just imagine Jesus is there. Things like that. Says here practices involve rituals. Beliefs may include apocalyptic visions, secret teachings, claims of special knowledge. I don't know if she does that. That's fine. But either way, exploitation, the us versus them mentality, lack of accountability. That's all Jenny Weaver's ministry. So, and the key factor for me is how people behave within the ministry and what do people say when they get out of it. Because we saw the same thing at IHOP. Go read the testimonies and watch the videos of the testimonies of the people who escaped IHOP before the Bicklegate scandal. And they'll tell you just a horrific story of just abuse and manipulation and cult-like mannerisms and behaviors and treatment. And Jenny Weaver is not necessarily at the level that IHOP was at, but she ain't that far off, The people who get out usually tell a story that they escaped the cult. And the people who are in it behave like they're in a cult. There's no talking. There's no having a biblical conversation. There's certainly no discussion or critique allowed of the charismatic leader, of the idol. That's off limits. And that will be defended violently and vociferously and viciously if needed. So, sorry, Jenny, that you apparently got offended that some people are correctly labeling what you got going on in the core as a cult, because that's what it is. Let me just leave your comments at the comment section. Try to get back to everybody, give it a thumbs up, share the video, like, etc. And mark and avoid Jenny Weaver. Don't fall for the cult. Test everything and hold fast.